right. Welcome back to another episode of Bet GPT. This is episode 24. I'm coming at you live from Los Angeles. Slade is live in Charlotte. We are across the globe here, and I did want to bring this up. I just want to give a shout out to all of our listeners overseas as well. So as you know, we're strong in the U.S. Our ratings right now, we're at 98% of people are in the U.S., but we do have listeners in Libya as well as England, Fiji, and a few other countries located overseas. So we just want to thank everybody, even if it's just one or two listens. It's cool to think about how we have a global impact on the sports betting world.
I hope, and stay safe out there.
Yes, exactly. Stay safe out there. All right. Man, so just to recap, we're up 9.74 units. I'm not surprised, are you?
No, because it's really like 12. Can these MLB awards just come out already? We know we're gonna win.
I know. The funny thing about MLB awards too is when they're announced, like if it's a Braves player who wins MVP, like it would I don't know who it was last time, but they always have like a former player be the one announcing it, so it's really obvious like who's gonna win the award. If it was like a toss up, it'd be like Yadier Molina is here to present the award to Albert Pujols. He's not giving it to Corey Seager or whatever. So I really hope that they roll Gunnar Henderson's mom out there to announce the pick, because that's what it needs to be.
Wait, before we get started, guess what I did for lunch today?
Whole Foods.
Yep. I'm also on no caffeine today, so I'm very low E today.
Low E.
Low energy.
Yeah. Rather be low E than low T, am I right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. 6-pack plays for the week. We have some college. We have some NFL. We got some player props. We get a nice mix of plays here. I think that if you want to just get us kicked off, if you want to do your college plays first, then we can just lead straight into our NFL preview and kind of lump those together.
Yeah, so I'll just start off. The lowest total of the college football season so far is the Iowa-Wisconsin line. I got it at under 36. It opened at 36.5. It's kind of bounced around today. I've seen it 34, 35. For the sake of this play, we're going to go with 36, kind of in the middle. Last year's game, Iowa-Wisconsin, was an Iowa 24-10 win, so 34 points. Another big reason I love this under, besides Iowa's offense being terrible, is it's going to rain, 75% chance of rain, and then there's expected 15 to 25 mile per hour winds. That game is up in Madison, Wisconsin. So I mean, do you see? I mean, Iowa's points total for just them is 11.5. I would expect them to be right around 10 points. My prediction for the game is like 17-9. I mean, maybe we'll get into it later, but 36 is kind of a lot when you think about how bad Iowa's offense is and how frequently they're hitting under.
I don't like to disagree with you on 6-pack plays, so I'm not saying I'm disagreeing with you. I just think your handicap, you may have missed something big. Deacon Hill was a former Wisconsin quarterback. If you don't think he's going to go out and drop 30 on their heads, you might.
I hope you're right. I mean, if this goes over, I'm worrying it's because we got our ass beat, but some pick sixes in there. For this to go over, though, it's going to require some defensive touchdowns or a special teams touchdown, probably from Iowa. Are they realistically going to drive 70 yards multiple times? I don't see it. So I'm expecting a loss somewhere around like the 8.7, maybe a little more than one possession. But then again, I don't even know if Wisconsin's that good. Their quarterback has his touchdown to interception ratio is 3 touchdowns to 3 interceptions. So their offense isn't exactly a juggernaut either.
What's the game line at right now?
Wisconsin 9.5.
Okay, I'm on FanDuel right now. It's been bet up to 10. So you
it's
think
yeah, it's been back and
you would
forth.
lean Iowa plus 10, but obviously you like the under more. The under's actually, yeah, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'd rather have the under if you can get it around, if you can get it 35 and a half or higher.
Dude,
Then yeah,
I hate to say this to you, but we can't have that on the six pack because it's down to 34.5.
it's 34 and a half already.
Yeah.
That mm. Last week, my Ohio State play went the other direction and it still won. Um, if it's 34 and a half, I'll still take it.
All
I
right.
don't want to make a new pick.
We got to officially change it to 34.5. We just want to be uh,
Damn.
a podcast with integrity. So we're
But
giving you the 34.5.
if it's any consolation, if it hits at 35, I won't care because I have money on it. It'll suck for our six pack like points and everything.
The
But
listeners, though, it's not even about the points. We want the listeners to make money.
you're right. But I'll make money if it's 35,
Yeah.
just for the record.
If it gets stuck at 35 and Slade wins his bet, but our listeners lose, please just send him a Venmo request for $1 and he'll
Yeah,
match that.
there we go. All right. Anyways, going from the worst offenses to the best, Oregon, Washington is this weekend. That's probably the biggest game of the weekend. Two top 10 teams. Washington is a 3-point favorite at home. Vegas thinks Oregon is a half-point better on a neutral site. I am taking Oregon to not just lay the points, but to win. I'm taking them money line at plus 125. Oregon, I think, is just the more well-rounded team. They have maybe the best offensive line in college football. The metrics show that. Whether or not that's true or not, obviously, we're still only halfway through the season. I do think Oregon is going to score points. I think Michael Penix is going to have to play a near perfect game. They're really the only place I see Washington maybe having an advantage is at wide receiver. I love Washington's coach though, but I don't know. I just think Oregon might be a little more talented all around. They probably recruit a little better. And I see the game as more of a 50-50, but if you're going to give me plus 125, I'm going to take Oregon.
Yeah. And it's funny that the Pac-12 is basically breaking apart after this season, or they are breaking apart, because they've kind of never been in better shape. This is the first Pac-12 matchup with teams 5-0 or better since 2004, and it's the first
Yeah.
time that these two teams have played each other when they're both in the top 10.
Yeah,
So
it's this is technically a Big Ten game. We're going to claim
yeah,
it. The Big Ten has 6 of the current top 10 teams. Like if you look at like the 2024, so like if you included Oregon, Washington, USC, 6 of the top 10 teams are in the future state Big Ten. So
are the other 4 in the future state SEC?
I'm trying to think who else. Florida State is in the ACC.
All right, because
Texas, I'm guessing, is still in there. Oklahoma is it only Georgia?
The top 10 is Georgia, Michigan, Ohio State, Florida State, Oklahoma, Penn State, Washington, Oregon, Texas, USC.
So only one SEC team.
Correct.
But I
One
guess if we're
no, 3 SEC because Oklahoma and
yeah.
Texas,
Yep.
and then Florida State's the lone ACC. Okay.
Yeah. So basically, the Big 12 starting next year, it's gonna suck knowing that like Iowa State's one of the maybe better programs in that conference. Once you take out those two, I'm not saying they're gonna win it or be in the playoff or the championship all the time, but it's just like they're gonna be playing like what BYU to see if they can make it to their title game. It's so stupid.
Yeah, but who cares? It's a horrible conference, and
You're
they'll just
right.
get exposed in the playoff. It's fine. Iowa will get their chances to get a what's the playoff going to 12 or 8 or what is
12.
it 12. Iowa will get plenty of chances to be the 10 through 12 seed. I don't see them getting any.
There's a
better
real
than that.
chance that like 6 of the 12 teams are Big Ten teams. I mean, just look at the current standings.
Yeah.
But anyways, we can maybe hit some Iowa later. I know that's our biggest game of the year, Iowa's biggest game of the year. So
Yeah.
But my third and final play is NFL. It's Dolphins to cover 13.5 versus the Panthers. As everyone knows, the Panthers are 0-5. They're the only winless team in the NFL. But a little fun fact is they are not only the only winless team, they're the only team that hasn't covered a spread. So they aren't just losing, they are getting pounded. Um,
Which
I
is
see that.
funny because their hashtag is hashtag keep pounding.
Yeah, yeah. The Dolphins last week had a pretty big line against or spread against the Giants. They covered that rather easily, and I don't even think they played well. They had a 102-yard pick six that I don't think you can really count on again. So I don't know. I just think the Dolphins are going to outclass them. It's that simple. 13.5 is a nice number. Keeps you two possessions. Um, I don't know. I know you kind of liked this one too, so I want to propose our first ever double unit play. Not because I'm necessarily like double confident, but just because I know you really liked this one too, and that doesn't happen for us very often.
Yeah, so we texted each other this morning with our plays, and we were both on the Dolphins. Um, so the resolution to that is I switched to a different play, but we are going to keep the Dolphins on the card as a 2-unit play. So normally that's not something we do, but if we independently come to something that we feel confident on, we will do that. I know there's a lot of like touts and random sports bettors who have like this is a 10-unit mega play or whatever. It's like we're not doing that, but we do feel confident and we each want to put a unit on it. So that's a 2-unit play. And I have a couple other notes here, and I don't think the Dolphins are like an elite team necessarily, but like they can they can blow the top off, with Tyreek Hill and Waddle with that speed. Um, they just got Chase Claypool too, who's like, I know you obviously don't like him, but he's like their fifth string wide receiver. He's the best fifth string wide receiver in the league now, or fourth, whatever, because I know they have Robbie Anderson as well, otherwise known as Chosen Anderson.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I think the Dolphins are going to score a lot. I don't think the Panthers can keep up with them, and that leads me into my Bryce Young rant of the week. What's up with Frank Reich basically like talking down on Bryce Young in the press conference this week? He like made it really obvious that owner David Tepper wanted the pick, and he was like preferred Stroud.
I mean, I'd be kind of annoyed too, though. Like your job depends on winning football games, and you're the guy that they trusted to run your football team. And a guy who's just a billionaire hedge fund guy is going to come in and act like he knows more than you about football and pick something that's more of a, not to say a publicity stunt, but I think he did it more to appease what he thought the fans wanted more so than trying to win football games. So I'd be a little annoyed too, but yeah, I wouldn't say it publicly. It's got to be a little awkward for Bryce. He didn't ask for that situation.
Yeah, and they Adam Schefter back in March said he believed Tepper loves Bryce Young and that Frank Reich likes CJ Stroud. So take that for what it's worth. Obviously, that's a lot of speculation, but
And he looks right. Frank Reich looks right now. That
yeah.
was a mouthful, but
I thought CJ Stroud was dumb though. He got an 18% on his S2 cognition test.
I don't pay
He
attention to that
he
stuff.
got an 18% and Bryce Young got a 98%.
I guess I've never really paid attention to the underwear Olympics or those like cognitive tests they have to do.
It's funny because right now I'm complaining about how stupid that is, but I know next year when I get into the NFL draft betting, I'm gonna be like, oh, he got a 40 on his S2. I'm dropping him.
Yeah, I know you will.
So, okay. Yeah, so that is double unit on the Dolphins. Okay. So next up, we'll go into my plays. The first one I have is I'm taking the Jaguars to cover the 4 against the Colts. So Jaguars come off 2 straight weeks in England. I hope that doesn't kind of mess them up a little bit. But I do think that with Gardner Minshew as the Colts quarterback, I don't think the Colts can really keep up with him. I don't know. Did you see that Anthony Richardson's out for? They just put him on IR, so he's going to be out for a while.
Yeah, he runs too much. He's the real running back, not Justin Fields.
Yeah. he's only, I mean, he's like 22, so his body, he's going to grow into a little bit more and learn how to absorb those hits, but it is pretty concerning. But yeah, Jags, I think they have a top 10 defense. They got their offensive left tackle back. I don't even think they played particularly well against the Bills because Lawrence had a couple fumbles, but they did beat the best team in the NFL. So you got to give them credit there. I think that we can lay the 4 here and feel pretty confident that the Jags will get that done. Let's see. Next up, here are my. I have a team total and a player prop. We'll start with the team total. The first one is Vikings team total over 22.5.
Smart. Oh,
Obviously,
smart.
you're a Bears guy, but come on. Like Justin Jefferson went down. I feel like the market kind of bumped the Vikings down a little bit, but I don't think that matters. I think Jordan Addison will be running all the routes. Osborne will be fine. Like they're still going to score in the Bears defense. That random safety you always bring up, Javon Brisker or whatever, I'm sure he's not playing for the 100th week in a row. This defense is not good. I don't feel confident in betting the Vikings -3 because I think the Bears could win in a shootout as Justin Fields has had like 8 touchdowns in the last 2 games. But I do think the Vikings are going to score.
Yeah, I bet the over in the game. It was 46, and then I doubled down when it came down to 44. Um, I think both teams' defenses are a little suspect. The Bears, even more so. It's not just Brisker, but it's both safeties and both corners. All they have healthy right now, I think, is a nickel. So, um, and then they still get no pass rush. I think Kirk is going to look like the best version of himself. I don't even care Jefferson's out because if he's wide open, these other guys are going to get wide open. It doesn't matter.
Kirk Cousins has to ball out too to put his draft stock up, or his trade
Trade.
stock. Yeah.
Trade. He doesn't seem like a guy who wants to get traded though. He's got his family, his kids, his wife. You've seen quarterback. He doesn't seem like a guy who's like, trade me to Atlanta because I have a 3% better chance of winning a Super Bowl. Like, I don't see him as that guy. He's got a no trade clause.
That's true. Yeah, he'd have to go to the right scenario, and with him being a free agent coming up, I'm sure he would like that stability in a long-term deal somewhere. Like someone's going to give it to him, I would think.
Yeah, well, I was
Unless
listening.
someone would have to give him a 1-year, like $40 million deal for him to take a short-term deal, I'm guessing.
I was listening to a podcast with the Vikings beat writer talking. He was saying that the only way he thinks Kirk would waive a no trade is if it was to a team that was also extending him multiple years.
Mm-hmm.
And so the number of teams that are willing to do that is very low. And then you throw in trading for a quarterback mid-season. It's a little tough.
Yeah, if I wanted to get Kirk Cousins, I would just wait until the offseason. I don't think that's worth it to do it now. But okay, next up, we're gonna go to the Bengals game, our favorite team, who we are vehemently rooting against every single week. They're laying 2.5 at home against the Seahawks. And my 6-pack play for this one is Joe Burrow over 36.5 pass attempts. And that's at -135.
Is
So
that
once
at home?
again, yeah, at home, over 36.5 pass attempts. So you heard Jamar Chase's rant a couple weeks ago where he's like, I'm always open. He tweeted 7-11, aka always open, which he did steal that nickname from Chris Hogan, one of my favorite wide receivers for the Patriots. So not super appreciative of that, but he is right. He is always open. I do think he's just going to get another 10 to 15 targets, another like absurd game. So if he's doing that, like Joe Burrow's going to drop back to pass every single game. You saw when he was hurt against the Rams a few weeks ago, and they weren't sure if he was going to play on that Monday night game. He threw 49 passes still, and he's getting healthier every week. They said his calf is getting close to 100%. I'm not sure if you want to believe that, but regardless, he's gone over this 36 3 out of the 5 weeks. And the first week when he was like very injured against the Browns, he only had 31. So I'm going to kind of throw that out. And then against the Titans, that's the game where they got crushed. He only had 30. So obviously the game state has to be there. And I think that the game state is going to be both these teams will be in the 20s. One team will probably get up to the 30s. There's going to be a lot of points, a lot of back and forth, some long drives. And I do think Burrow's going to go over the 36.5.
For the Seattle, for our bet, it's not a must win. or anything for us, but I just think Seattle is one of those like kind of toss up games that we need a few of those over the course of the year to go our way for the Bengals play to win, but it
Yeah.
doesn't have to be this week. I would love to see it. I think that would kind of be that would go a long way in just wrapping this up for us. But
Yeah.
I'm
So we
staying
should
away
be
from playing that game in general.
rooting for a 40-39 Seahawks win. How's that sound?
That's
A lot of
great because I
passes.
have
Yeah.
I have Kenneth Walker, I have DK Metcalf. It's good for my fantasy team.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, so those are 6-pack plays. Just to repeat them one more time, Slade had Oregon plus 125 money line against Washington. The Dolphins laying 13.5 against the Panthers at minus 110. And then the Iowa-Wisconsin under 34.5 minus 110. Make sure to shop around for that. There's some 35s and maybe some stray 36s out there. And then my plays are Jaguars laying 4 against the Colts at minus 110. The Vikings team total over 22.5 at minus 110. And then Joe Burrow's passing attempts over 36.5 at minus 135. I went on our Twitter and I posted the link to this and I made it our pinned tweet. So it's really easy to look at all our bets. We try to update it right after the show, so that if you missed it, you can go in there and read them so you can play them off. But yeah, all our history's on there, so you can see what we've won, what we've lost, and kind of what other futures we have pending. All right, do you want to continue with the NFL? You want to give me your quick prediction on Broncos Chiefs as it's going on right now, but just crystal ball.
Uh,
Who do you think's going to win the
Chiefs
game and by
win,
how
Chiefs
much?
cover. Chiefs by 14. I said that this morning in our group chat, and I still believe it.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I'd probably lean the under though. I don't think the Broncos are going to score. They're terrible. Um, Aaron Schatz, who's the creator of DVOA, I talked about him a few weeks ago. He I was listening to him on the Numbers Game radio show today, and he said that well, I'll get to my Bills take later, but he said that the Broncos defense is the worst defense they've ever had in the NFL history, dating back to like the 70s. And I know they had like a 70-point game where they gave up, but he did say that he did take out a couple. He like de-emphasized that 70-point, like all the fourth quarter points in that game. So it's just a matter of like, do the Chiefs want to put their foot on the gas, or are they just going to coast? I feel like they're going to coast and just win by 14. But
Hopefully, a big Pacheco night, take some pressure off of Kelsey and Mahomes, and just cruise into a mini bye.
yep. All right. Next up, Ravens laying 4 at the Titans. What do you got on this game?
Ravens -4. I have played that with my own money. I was very close to putting that in the 6-pack. If I had to do a fourth play for make it an 8-pack, that would have been my play. I like the Ravens this week. They need it this week. I think Lamar needs it. He's been very inconsistent, but I think they get the job done. 4 is not my favorite number for this, but it could be worse.
Yeah, it'd be nice if this was down to 3, but I feel good about the Ravens at -4 as well. Lamar Jackson was Pro Football Focus highest rated passer last week, and while his stats didn't look good, if you like rewatch the tape, aka if you're me and you watch like a 3-minute video on Twitter, you could see that there were a lot of drop passes and even some balls from Lamar were like if he just kind of would have thrown it like 6 inches in another direction, it seemed like the wide receiver would have came down with it. So they really just got to get that cleaned up. They should be 5-0, but they're 3-2. And then now they have the Browns, Steelers, and Bengals breathing down their neck for the AFC. So not
It's a
where they
get
wanted
right
to be.
game.
But yeah, it is a get right game. Titans, I'll say my daily comment of Derrick Henry's washed. That's all I have to say about them.
Who are they even playing?
What?
Sorry. I
They're
was
playing each other. You're good.
yeah.
Oh, I should state that this game is in England, so set your alarms for this one Sunday morning, I guess. or just sleep in and wake up with some extra money in your bank account if you bet the
Yeah,
Ravens.
I love
It's an
these
option
games
too.
because I wake up and it's like the second half, and I turn it on for like the fourth quarter just to keep up with my team, see how it's going.
Yep.
Um, my I almost laid the Falcons again this week after last week. They're playing the Commanders at home, 2.5 point favorites. I've been riding pretty high with them. I think I'm like 2-0 betting with them this year, but I am staying away from this line. Sam Howell is an interesting guy. I can't really get a read on if he's average or if he's bad. I know he's not like really good, but I can't tell is he serviceable or not.
I think it's too early to tell. I think the only thing we know is he does have a huge arm, so there's going to be some like big time plays out of him. I just don't know if his processing and his execution is
Yeah,
there.
there were
But
some plays where like he was in the pocket and he dodged like 9 sacks last week, and like the announcers were like going crazy. I'm like, guys, this Bears defense can't bring down anybody.
yeah,
Like,
they don't have Javon Brisker.
well, he did lead the team in sacks last year at safety. So it's Jaquan, by the way.
Jaquan Brisker. I'll make a note of that. Sorry about that, Jaquan. All right. Next up, my Browns. They are hosting the 49ers. Right now, the lines are on -8. Um, that's kind of up in the air because Deshaun Watson's status is TBD right now. He has a bruised rotator cuff or something of that sort. It's really weird. The Browns are just handling it terrible. They're not letting him talk at like post game practices. He hasn't been throwing. They think PJ Walk fans think PJ Walker is going to start. It's just a mess. I in no world do I see the Browns winning this game. When the line was 6.5, I did tease it down so that they were the 49ers were only to win by like a half a point or whatever. So I do think that's a good teaser leg. Do you think the Browns have any chance in this one? Like
Well,
it's got to be because Myles Garrett really messes with Brock Purdy. That's the only way I see that happening.
well, this was a rare assist from you. I obviously haven't followed the Deshaun Watson health stories as closely as you have. So you gave us, um, me and some of our friends, a tip that this line you think is going to move. I got it at 6.5 for the 49ers to cover the 6.5. So I have that straight, but I also teased that down into a teaser leg as well. So I got that. It was a +3.5 or something. It's a great number to get.
Yeah,
Um, so I agree with you. I don't see the 49ers losing this game. I would be very shocked. You could basically put to bed the Brock Purdy MVP talk that's been circulating if they lose this game to either an injured Deshaun Watson or Deshaun Watson's backup. So I'm not super worried about it. I thought that even if Deshaun Watson played, he wasn't going to be 100%. So I thought it'd be more than a touchdown. But there has been some weird numbers or stats about like when after a team blows someone out on prime time, their next week, the other team almost always covers against them. So that was the only thing that gave me pause.
interesting. So going back to your Brock Purdy MVP comment, do you think that it's what's a bigger hit to someone's MVP odds? Like what's going to decrease their odds more? Losing a game like this to the Browns or um and then like winning out the rest of the year, or if they win like 14, 15 games but then struggle the last couple games of the year. Because the Eagles last year, if you remember, they struggled at the end of the year because Jalen Hurts was out, and then you know
Yeah, there's a
that second
recency
time Jalen Hurts
bias.
lost MVP. So it's like if Brock Purdy did lose this game, it'd almost kind of be a buy low spot for his MVP odds because I wouldn't get it at 7-1. But if you could get it after this game at like 15-1, and it's basically a bet on them to win out, that could be something to look at as well.
Yeah, you're probably right. I'm being a little over dramatic when I'm saying like you can kiss it goodbye. Obviously, there's a recency bias. Like if he finished the last month of the year going crazy, no one would think about an October 15th game. But
Yeah,
um, I guess I'm just not really sold on him as a legit candidate yet. I know the odds in Vegas say so, and I know the numbers say so. And I've already given him my credit this week that I think he's probably a top 10 QB, but I'm not going to go as far as to give him the MVP. And a part of that is I just think his defense and his supporting cast are going to take some of that shine away from him. And there's always going to be that, well, yeah, but could he do this here? Or could he do this if he were on the Texans? That kind of conversation. Fair or not. So I don't know. I do think that for him to have a real chance, they have to be like 16-1 or 17, no, something crazy like that,
Yeah.
where the team success is just through the roof.
Yeah. And I mean, it is realistic. I think they're going to win at least 14, but are they going to win, 15, 16, or 17 in that case?
Yeah.
All right. Next up, Saints -2 at the Texans. CJ Stroud coming off a few good games here. He's I think he's been sacked like the least amount in the NFL somehow. When coming into the season, there were a lot of concerns with the Texans offensive line. So I think that's a good sign for them. Or on the other end, they could regress and we could see some sacks coming up. Not sure how you feel about this game.
I have not played it. If I did play it, I would probably take the Texans money line. I think this could be a spot where that stat I was saying about a team blowing someone else out and then the next week laying an egg, that could be the Saints. Everyone's, they had their best game of the year versus the Pats. They looked great. Um, the Texans had their worst game, one of their worst games of the year last week. Maybe this is where things kind of even out a little bit and the market's maybe overreacting. But I don't know. I haven't played it. This is something that maybe I don't play till Sunday when I'm bored and I'm just like, yeah, I'll throw something on it. But I don't have anything like days out that I'm loving right now.
Yeah, I feel the same way. This will probably be one of those games that I'm just watching the highlights on Red Zone and then reading up on it after. We'll see how Derek Carr's shoulder is. I don't know. I know there's a lot of Chris Olave fantasy owners who aren't too happy about what's going on there. Doesn't look like Kamara's missed a beat though. That guy
Yeah,
still
he
knows
looks
how to play
good.
football. Yeah. Next up, we have the Lions laying 3.5 against the Bucks. So this one just missed my 6-pack. I didn't want to bet the -3.5. If it was 3 or 2.5, obviously, then I'd be much more inclined to do this. But the Bucks are coming off a bye. They're pretty healthy, other than Mike Evans. I think is a little banged up. I'm not sure what his game status is. I know Amon-Ra St. Brown missed last week. Gibbs missed last week, but I almost wonder if that was more out of caution for this week. I feel like if it was a playoff game, those guys could have gone last week, and that's why I think with the Lions, all systems go. They got everybody. I think they can beat Baker Mayfield.
And that's what, 3.5?
Yeah,
And where is that?
it's in Florida.
I've been tempted to lay the Lions all week. I just haven't pulled the trigger. I almost felt like I would have expected a higher number. So I feel like maybe there's something that I'm not thinking about that Vegas is considering that I'm not. Um, this is two of my top 10 team, my power rankings. You know that. So I obviously think Tampa Bay is slightly better than maybe the public does, but I haven't played anything yet. If I did play something, it would probably be towards the Lions. I kind of like rooting for them a little bit, partially because I have money on them winning the North. But um, I don't know. I'll go with the Lions if I had to pick. I just haven't played it.
So I'm just reading now that Mike Evans's hamstring is a little bit messed up, so he was limited at practice today. If he's out, I mean they're just throwing it. Baker just has Godwin. I don't know who he's going to look, what big body guy he's going to look for in the red zone. So I would lean Lions here as well.
Baker's still due for his classic Baker game.
I
Even
know.
if he does it once out of every like 5 or 6 games instead of once every other week, like he's still due.
So's Brock Purdy, and that hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, but we haven't seen Brock Purdy pull Bakers before.
It's true. Speaking of someone who can pull a Baker Mayfield, this is probably worse. Mac Jones is back in action this Sunday against the Raiders. I want to get the odds on him to throw a pick six. I'd love to bet Raiders defensive touchdown. We should
What
see
is
if
it,
we can
like
get that
10
at
to
like
1?
10-1. Yeah.
Yeah.
um, dude, I think the Raiders are going to win. The Patriots suck. I cannot picture the Patriots winning this game. They're terrible.
The only way they lose this game is if Josh McDaniel just gets like tries to outsmart Belichick and by doing a bunch of dumb stuff because he is definitely capable of doing dumb shit. Um, I don't. I would probably take the under. How is anyone going to score in this game? It's already a low
Um,
number though. I teased
yeah,
it.
I don't know. I'll tell you how they scored last year, though, is the Raiders won on a walk-off Jacoby Myers backwards pitch that went the wrong direction. Remember that? They took
Yeah,
that to the house. It's funny because Jacoby Myers is on the Raiders now, and I don't know why the Patriots got rid of Jacoby Myers. They paid Juju Smith-Schuster like the same amount of money, and Juju Smith-Schuster's knee is just like shot. So I don't. I
yeah.
They haven't made any right decisions. I don't
Jimmy
know. It's
G
pretty.
loves Jacoby Myers. He loves him more than Devontae Adams. It's funny.
It is
Um,
funny. He gets all the TDs.
for one of my teaser legs, I have like two NFL teasers. One of the legs is I added 10 points and took the under for that game because I just kept thinking, I was like, even with some short fields and turnovers, for it to get to like low 50s or whatever it is, like it would have to be someone is going to be scoring like mid 20s, and I don't see that happening.
It's the Mac Jones double pick six game. That's how it goes over.
Well,
I'm sure you wouldn't mind losing off that though. You'd get
no,
enough
I would.
amusement from that.
Yeah, you're right. Also, just another win for the Raiders for draft purposes. Keep them out of the QB talks for a little
Yep.
longer. I'll take it.
Yep. Yep.
Somebody winning that game is good for the Bears. That's all that matters. I don't care which team it is, but someone winning, I'm going to claim that's a W for me.
Yeah. No ties. We need a
Yeah,
win.
no ties.
All right. Um, Next up, we have the Rams at home laying 7 against the Cardinals. It seems like the Cardinals have come back down to earth a tiny bit. Josh Dobbs hasn't looked like a top 10 quarterback, now just maybe like a top 20, 25 type of guy, which, I mean, I think that's what they expected when they signed him. Cooper Kupp looked amazing. Him and Puka are just going to be running the show with Stafford. Um, I almost put the Rams as my survivor play. I think I'm going to end up betting them to lay the 7 this week. I don't think the Cardinals can keep up with them. I think this is a game where if the Rams want to make the playoffs, you have to win this game, and I think
Yeah.
they're going to go. They're going to go all out for this one.
I am taking the Rams -7. It's not one of my larger bets. It's more of a sprinkle than anything.
It's only a
Um,
couple $100. Yeah.
Yeah, right. I
Yep.
had the Rams under 6.5 wins going into the year, so I've kind of given up on that. I don't really. It's kind of a hedge in some ways by picking them on random games throughout the season. Um, James Conner is also out for the Cardinals,
Yeah.
so things are kind of falling apart for them slowly.
They own their first round draft pick, right?
Yeah, they do. They had a good trade with the Texans. They took that one of the best offensive linemen in the draft, and then they traded back so that the Texans could get Will Anderson.
Okay, yeah. So right now, if the season ended today, the draft order is Carolina 1 to the Bears, then Bears, Denver, Minnesota Vikings 4. Wow, they should trade Kirk Cousins. They could easily draft another quarterback, especially because like we were just talking about how it's nice to pair a rookie with a wide receiver. Once you draft that rookie, just give Justin Jefferson all the money in the world if you haven't yet, because that's the rookie contract. All that quarterback money goes to Justin Jefferson. Um, Patriots 5, Giants 6, Arizona 7, Green Bay 8, Raiders 9, and then the 10th pick is the Houston pick that goes to the Cardinals. So two
so
top 10 picks for the Cards right now.
yeah, so maybe this is a good transition, but if you're the Vikings and you're sitting there at pick 4 and you're playing the team that has pick 2, what are you trying to win this Sunday? Are you trying to give the Bears a win? Or
Yeah, that's
honestly
I,
though, do they even need to give it to them? Or are they even that much better?
I think it's too early for a team like the Vikings to start losing games, but
I mean, if they win this, they're 2-4. They'd be second best record already in the North pretty much.
Yeah.
And they still have to play the Vikings or the Packers twice. So if they
Yeah.
win this game, they can't be thinking tank mode.
Yeah.
But while we're on the subject of that game, you already gave the Vikings over points. I gave the game over points. Um, I also sprinkled a little bit on Bears money line at plus 130. I just think that game's going to be a real toss up, and I'll take the 130. And I'm a Bears fan, so sue me. But if
You weren't.
if we lose and Justin plays well again, I don't care. That's another win.
That's true. There you have it. All right. Next, Eagles -7 against the Jets. This is my survivor play of the week. And a lot of that it just has to do with the Eagles' schedule coming up is absolutely brutal. So this is kind of a must win for them, especially if they want to stay in contention with the 1 or 2 seed, because the Niners are going to keep winning. Eagles have at the Jets, and then they have Dolphins at home, at Commanders, Cowboys at home, at the Chiefs, Bills at home, Niners at home, back to Cowboys. It's tough. I think they looked better last week.
Mm-hmm.
The first four weeks of the season, they didn't look good. Last week, they looked good. Kind of put the hurt on the Rams. That was one of our plays last week, so it's good to see that one hit. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think Zach Wilson can score a lot of points. I think the Eagles can put up 25 and win this game, maybe 25-10.
Yep, no place for me. I think the Eagles win. It is in New York. I feel like the Jets play a little better at home, but 7 points. 7 points is kind of a lot for me to bet either way. The Eagles have been prone to playing close games versus inferior competition. So
Yeah. I not to interrupt you real quick. I know this is a little off topic, but on Twitter, there's a story going on around how Pat McAfee is paying Aaron Rodgers millions of dollars to come on the McAfee show. So to try to get BetGPT some street rep, I tweeted and said on my personal account at BetGPT Podcast pays up to $1,000 per appearance, not a whole lot, but a decent chunk of change for a 30-minute appearance. DM me if interested. I have one responder. He said, "Can I come on and talk about my cats?" So not what we're looking for, but as a joke, I'm going to tweet at him and say Venmo or Cash App. All
maybe he'll listen
publicity
to
is
this.
all publicity is good publicity. Let me tell you that. All right, next game, Giants Bills. I've been waiting for this one.
The biggest game of the weekend. The best team in the NFL. Let's go.
That's why it's Sunday Night Football. All right,
The battle for New York.
All right, just stop talking for like the next 60 seconds.
All right.
So as I said, Aaron Schatz's the guy who came up with DVOA, who, if you don't remember, DVOA is defensive adjusted value over average. It calculates a team's success based on the down and distance of each play during the season, then calculates how much more or less successful each team is compared to the league average. He has the Bills as the best 3-2 team in NFL history. Makes me feel so much better about where I am with the Bills. They're right there. They're number 2 overall in the league with the Niners first. Same as my power rankings. I think you had the Bills at like 5 or 6, which is a complete joke. Clearly, you think you're smarter than the analytics, which I would disagree with. So I got the
Who
Bills
did
too.
the analytics have won?
Niners.
Okay.
I just told you Niners Bills.
Well, I was gonna say
I told you don't talk, not don't listen.
It was over 60 seconds, but
Okay.
You're right. I did tune you out for a second because one of those accounts that you love to send me, some analytics account, sue me. I don't know what it's called.
Oh, Sumer Sports, yeah.
Yeah, they posted something yet last night that had the Super Bowl odds according to their analytics, and the Chiefs were like the highest percentage by a mile. They were like 27%, and the Bills were like 10%. So
that's because
suck on that. Suck on those analytics.
Take that for data.
Take that and think about that for a minute.
Yeah, you left me speechless there. I'll just go back into the Bills-Giants game. Giants are terrible. Bills, as we talked about a couple days ago, they lost Matt Milano. That's huge. Their defense obviously needs to have the next man up mentality, get that figured out. But I mean, the Giants, you're basically playing a AAA football team, so that should be a walk in the park. I'll probably end up laying the 14.5 if it, or especially if it goes down to 14. I'll probably do that, but that's another game on Sunday you don't have to watch. Just check the box score and you can see Josh Allen's 5 touchdowns or whatever it is. That DVOA guy also had his MVP. He has an MVP vote, and he said there's 50 MVP voters, right? So as we've talked about, you're betting on like the human element. 50 humans. It just comes down to that. He has a vote. He said his current top 5 is Josh Allen 1, Patrick Mahomes 2, Brock Purdy 3, and then it's like Tyreek Hill and Christian McCaffrey in some order. So Josh Allen, still your MVP. Bills, still the Super Bowl team, if not the Niners. I'm done. Slade has nothing to say. All right, tell me about the Cowboys Chargers Monday night. Should be a good one.
Oh, now you want to talk about your original Super Bowl pick, or did you give up on them? Even though you said the week before you weren't going to give up on them, you literally said, "I said, what will it take for you to give up on them?" And you said they would have to get eliminated, but you already picked a different team.
Yeah, I don't know. I just had a change of heart. I have to be true to
lost since that pod episode. So they win and you're out on them. They lose and you're digging your heels in. It's almost like you just want to like come at me. You just want to dig your heels in whenever I disagree with you.
No, I still think they're going to the AFC Championship game. I just think they're going to lose to the Bills now. I forgot Josh Allen existed for a second.
Hey, that happens to the best of us. Yep.
Yeah, that's all.
The Chargers Cowboys. Those are going to be two of honestly, this is going to be the hardest game to predict of the whole weekend. You have two of the most unpredictable. Maybe sometimes they look like the best team in the NFL, and they convince casuals like Brady Ellison that they're amazing. And then they have weeks where they go and they could lose by 30 to anyone.
That's because Mike McCarthy and Staley are both ticking time bombs. They have no idea what's going on.
Yeah, so I'm not betting it because I don't trust either of them. I don't think there's any rhyme or reason or correlation between anything that they do. They're both above average, good teams, but I don't like betting on them anymore.
Yeah,
I've lost on the Cowboys like twice now.
Yeah, if I can get the Chargers at 3, I'll probably bet that. But if it stays at the 2.5 range, I'm not sure. I think it'll be a field goal game either way. All right, that's the NFL. College. Run us through it. What do you want to talk first? You want to talk Hawks? You want to go through your plays?
Let's talk Hawks. This is the biggest game on the schedule we had circled coming in.
I thought you were about to say this is the biggest game of my life. I was like, that is pathetic. Sorry, continue.
If they lose this game, the season's over. Though, let's.
What do you mean it's over?
If they lose this, Indianapolis is off the table. It's gone. They're 3 games up behind if they lose this game.
Is that declares if you had a sufficient season if you make it to Indy in your eyes?
Well, before the season, Hack and I predicted they'd make the Big Ten title game. And if you lose this game, you're not doing that. So it's hard to sit here and say that at a 10. I mean, if they go 10-2, I think that'll soften some of the pain. But you lose to the biggest game on your schedule, and you're already out of the Big Ten race essentially by mid-October. That's going to make the last 4 or 5 games feel kind of Some juice is taken out of the season. Obviously, we have the Penn State loss. Wisconsin only has a Washington State loss, so not a Big Ten loss. So yeah, if you lose this, then you have 2 Big Ten losses. They have 0. They'd have to lose 3 because of the tiebreaker. Newsflash: they don't have 3 losable games on their schedule, so it's basically a wrap minus an act of God.
So you did mention off the top that it is a big weather game, which
Mm-hmm.
I did forget to mention in the NFL, there's going to be weather too. So keep an eye on that too. You might want to wait until Sunday to place your bets. Because
The Northeast, yeah.
if a game in Cleveland, for example, if that gets super sloppy, Brock Purdy's never played a weather game in the NFL. He has at Iowa State, but NFL is a whole different beast. So, crazy things happen. But that going back to the Hawks game, Deacon Hill is so bad that the weather is probably not even going to affect him. He might actually be better. So,
Well, everyone remember before the Penn State game, I came up here and I told our audience, well, the weather, it raining in Happy Valley maybe would be a neutralizer to help Iowa. Yeah, that didn't really happen. So I'm not going to say that again. Um, I do think it helps Iowa, but I don't know if it'll make a difference in that final outcome. Um, the real question is Wisconsin good? I don't know. They have 3 passing touchdowns. Like, they are not some juggernaut. It is year 1 with a new coach, all new coordinators, a whole new staff, a whole new system. If Kirk does not beat Luke Fickell in Luke Fickell's first year, when should I ever expect him to? You know what I mean? So so to me, there's more pressure on Iowa winning this game just from whoever wins this is winning the West. So it's really, this is literally the Big Ten West championship game. And then, you throw in the fact it's like, which trajectory are these two programs going? So that's another big thing I'm thinking about. I hope they win. I don't care. This is one of those few games where I'll say on the record, I don't care how bad the offense looks if they win. But I do also know that if the offense plays well, your chances of winning are better. So it is what it is. Their style of play, the way they play and the way they win games ugly, these are the games typically where it costs them. So let's pray that Wisconsin is not very good.
yeah, I guess we're going to find out. I will. I don't think the player props are posted yet. I've been looking. I just want to bet a Cooper DeJean anytime touchdown so bad. He just, if I can get that like at 30-1, like I'm betting that every single game. That dude is a touchdown magnet.
Can we just put him in Wildcat from like in the red zone?
They won't do that because
They
then
won't.
That's like Kirk admitting he was wrong for not doing it from day one.
Yeah, they won't. Exactly. Kirk is too stubborn to do something that seems like common sense. But whatever. We'll see what happens. Deacon Hill was 1 for 9 at halftime, and someone asked Kirk after the game, "Did you think about making a QB change?" And he's like, "No, I didn't even think about that. Why would I consider that? Deacon's our quarterback." It's like, well, he was 1 for 9 with a QBR of 1 and an interception. So I think a normal person would be thinking about it when you have Joey Labus, but whatever.
The first touchdown score market is up for the Iowa game, and Iowa's defense's first touchdown is 31-1.
Mordecai, he throws picks, man.
It's possible. We got Braylon Allen, that's their running back at plus 340, Caleb Johnson plus 850, Mordecai plus 900. What is Deacon Hill's 24-1?
QB sneak.
I might just bet Wisconsin defense and Iowa defense and just pray something insanely dumb happens.
Yeah, it's not a bad play.
I also might bet no touchdown scored at 28-1. Crazier things have happened.
This could be a 9-6 game. If Iowa doesn't score a touchdown, I won't be shocked. Why would I be shocked? That would literally follow the trend. So
yeah.
Anyways, we'll have a betting or a Talking Hawks pod with Hack after this game if we can get him to join. He really hasn't talked to me since our last episode. I think he's a little butthurt that I'm out on Kirk Ferentz as head coach.
It's funny because you're not even joking. I'm sure you guys have not.
We have not spoken.
Get a little contentious.
Apparently if you don't want Kirk Ferentz as your head coach, you just don't speak to each other. So that'll be a fun episode. Anyways, so the rest of my bonus picks that I'll tweet out. So just for context, I am 22-21 and with three pushes. Giving out my bonus plays. They aren't 6-pack plays. They're just what I'm what I'm sprinkling on for the weekend. Um, so this week I'm going kind of off the grid with most of my plays. Um, Part of it's just because the board isn't great for in terms of like games I like. But Charlotte +3 versus Navy, I am on that one. I think Charlotte. So Charlotte, obviously, I'm a little biased. Maybe they are the home team in this game, but Navy is 2-3. They are 1-4, and it's like, why are you betting on a 1-4 team? Well, they have played four of the out of their four losses, three have been to Power Five teams. So it's not really fair to write them off when they're playing in Navy just because they're losing to Florida, for example. Every Power Five team they've played is over 500. They're not playing like Vandy or Northwestern. You know what I'm saying? So I think their record is partially a product of their schedule. Navy we saw lose 42-3 versus Notre Dame in their only Power Five game. So that's Charlotte +3. My other one is Air Force. They're 10-point favorites versus Wyoming. This is maybe one of the under the radar better games of the weekend. Air Force is in my 6-pack. I've bet them a lot. They are maybe my favorite team to bet on right now. Their offense is kind of a juggernaut. Wyoming only has one loss, and it's to Texas. You could argue these are the two best G5 teams in the country right now, unless I'm forgetting somebody. But I'm still taking Air Force. They're 10-point favorites. Let's ride with them. That's my squad. That's my G5 squad for the year. I love our military members.
Respect
Thank
the
you for your
troops.
service.
Yep.
Let's ride. That game is in Wyoming. Weather will be a factor there potentially as well.
Okay.
And then I'm going with Wake Forest +2 versus Virginia Tech. I think Virginia Tech is awful. Wake Forest played a close game versus Clemson last week, so maybe that moral victory will lead to an actual victory. Not this one's just kind of interesting to me, but I don't. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm pounding this. Maryland 13.5 versus Purdue. As someone who watched Purdue last weekend, they are bad. They are really, really bad. And Maryland is a team that offensively, like when they play an Ohio State or someone like that, their style of play gets them killed because they throw the ball a lot. If they play a defense that can cover their wide receivers, they struggle. But when they play an inferior opponent, they kill them. They're like I don't know, was it binary where it's like if they play a team more talented than them, they get murdered. But if they play someone that's worse than them, they kill them.
Yeah.
So very rarely are they winning close games. So if you think Maryland's gonna win, I'm like, I might as well just take the 13.5. I think they're the better team, so that's part of it as well. Duke, NC State. So I have NC State season total over. That's looking like it's in decent shape. If I lose Duke -3, at least that bet's in good shape. But I think Duke is the better team. NC State's offense has struggled all year. I watch them a lot because of that play, and they're just kind of gross. I know Duke has some injuries and things. Otherwise, this line would probably be even further. But I just think worst case, you're maybe looking at a push um, at the 3 points.
So, are you aware that Duke's quarterback Riley Leonard is
Yes,
day to day? Okay.
yes. That's what I was meant when I said I know they're a little banged up. I think if he's obviously playing, that number's higher. I'm just not totally sure if NC State is going to score a lot of points. So that's kind of where my mindset's at. Oregon State. I know you hate Oregon State. You hate DJU. You called him the worst quarterback in Clemson history. His numbers at Clemson weren't bad, but they're even better this year. They are 3-point favorites in Corvallis against UCLA. Corvallis is a good home field advantage. I think it's an underrated home field. It's so out in the middle of nowhere that it's like probably going to another world. UCLA is a little soft, still they're an LA team. Their front seven is actually pretty good, but I just think Oregon State's better than them at a neutral site anyway. They can run the football. They have an NFL caliber running back. DJU looks like he's cleaned some things up. And then Oregon State and UCLA are probably two of the top 3 or 4 defenses in all of the Pac-12. So this will actually be a Pac-12 game that looks like it may not actually be basketball on grass.
I want to apologize to DJU. He got out of. There's two. To me, we disagree. I know we disagree on this, but there's two Colts in college football. There's TCU, and then there's also Clemson. That's the other one. Dabo Sweeney. I would never play for that guy. He couldn't pay me. He couldn't give me all the NIL money in the world. I'd rather play for free under Saban. So
Yeah, because you say you're a Saban guy, so of course you hate Dabo. He's beat his ass. He's the only coach you can say has beat Saban's ass. So of course you don't like him. If he was a punching bag for Saban, you would love him.
speaking of Bama, I have this pulled up right here. I know you have one more play real quick, but
Go ahead.
Bama's 20-1 to win the national title. Can you talk me out of that?
If they lose to Georgia in the SEC title game, they won't make it.
But if they lose that, then they're not good enough to win anyway.
Well, yeah, I guess that's it. Can they beat Georgia potentially twice?
They beat them once
Years ago.
2 years ago. 2 years ago, right?
Yeah, that was. And then 2 years ago.
Or was it last year?
No, Georgia went undefeated last year.
Okay, 2 years ago.
So that would be my main reason. LSU and them, I think, is probably a 50-50. So I think they're going to beat Tennessee. I'm not really worried about the rest of the game. So it's like if they can win a coin flip versus LSU and then pull off an underdog victory against Bama or Georgia, and then win a first round semifinal and then potentially beat a Georgia again, that's a lot. But it's not impossible, but it's just a lot.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm just looking at all the odds across the board. Nothing really stuck out to me. Like, I don't want to bet Georgia plus 275, Michigan plus 325, Ohio State's plus 800, Florida State plus 850. Pac-12, it's a little interesting. It kind of depends who you think's going to win. Oregon and Washington are both 12-1. Whereas their Heisman odds, Caleb Williams plus 185, Bo Nix plus 600, Michael Penix Jr. plus 200. So 2 out of the top 3 Heisman guys are facing off this weekend. I think if you think Oregon's going to win,
Bo Nix is a good Heisman play.
I don't hate the Bo Nix plus 600.
Nicholas Bear is on Bo Nix to win the Heisman before the season started. That's looking pretty good. He got
let's make it clear. He said it on his pod. He didn't actually bet.
He didn't put his actual money on it?
No.
Doesn't count then.
Surprise. Nicholas Bear under that same under that same type of scenario, I'm sure he bet on TCU to make it to the national title last year with fake money. So credit to him for that as well.
Let's do this last play, and then I want to talk baseball for just a minute. Right. So this last one, maybe I'll scratch it. I bet with my own money Cal plus 13.5 versus Utah.
Gross.
That's down to 11 now. So I don't even, if it's at 11, I don't know if there's much of a difference between 11 and 13.5, but I don't know. I'm not as confident in that one now. I might remove it because if our audience can't get 13.5, if we're going to play that way, I don't love it as much.
You're just so damn sharp, dude. You got to tweet these out right away. 2.5 points of value right there.
I know it. Yeah. Anyways, but baseball. So just for our listeners, I bet the series winners for this whole round. I did the Diamondbacks, the Phillies, the Astros, and the Rangers. And that was at plus 2,600. I've been hedging all of these games lately. And I've lost every single hedge because I'm like, the Dodgers have to win game 2, right? They lose. They have to win game. They lose. I did the same thing with the Twins. I've done so. Like I was plus 2,600, but I've lost some of that profit now by hedging. I really need the Phillies to close this out. Now I did put a little bit of a hedge on the Braves to win the series at plus 180, but they have to win 2 in a row.
Yeah, I have those Rangers to play the Braves and Dodgers in the World Series. The Dodgers, thanks a lot for that one. I still have faith in the Braves, but the Phillies,
think so too.
The Phillies got the juice. Bryce Harper, don't mess with him; he'll go yard on you. The Cubs not signing Bryce Harper was a huge mistake.
Yep.
He is a dog named Wrigley, for those who don't know. But
He wanted to be here, man. That was the same year all we did was sign Daniel Descalso. So money was tight with the Ricketts at the time. If we would have signed him and then COVID happened and we started cutting players like we did with Schwarber, what would they have done back then if we had another like $30-40 million tied up? That we would have cut the whole team to save Ricketts money.
I heard Daniel Descalso does Bryce Harper's laundry now. That's his job because he's not in the league anymore, I'm sure.
Well, he's like 40 something now. That was 5 years ago.
Yeah.
But I was going to say, I think last episode I said that the Dodgers basically have a bye to the next round and they got swept.
Yeah.
So hands up. I didn't bet anything on it. So I guess it doesn't count, right? I just said it. I did play Rangers Phillies World Series matchup at plus 325 today. Obviously, I feel like this might be the best value I'm going to get unless they lose tonight. Then maybe it'll jump up a little bit. But if they win it tonight against the Braves, that number's going to drop.
Here's a play for the listeners. Let's say it goes to Game 5. Are you betting on the Phillies or the Braves? Not sure what the price is going to be. I'm sure it'll be in Atlanta. I'm sure the Braves will be. Who's going to pitch for them? It's going to be Fried against Wheeler or against Nola. I think it's Fried against Wheeler. Right?
It's Wheeler. I would take the Phillies because I trust Wheeler with my life right now.
I think you could get Wheeler at plus money. I think it'd be like plus 110.
Yeah, I agree. I would probably take the Phillies. I do think the Braves probably win tonight because it's Strider, and I don't know who's pitching even for the Phillies, so that says something.
It's Ranger Suarez.
Yeah, so I don't know. It's hard. It's always hardest getting that final win. That's what I always feel like. So we'll see. I'm praying for the Phillies to win. If it goes to a Game 5, I probably won't bet that game since I already I already hedged with the Braves series, so it doesn't really make sense.
Yeah. Well, best of luck to you, my friend.
Thank you. That would be my biggest win of the year, probably going back to Embiid. We
would love, the Embiid MVP, which I know you're not a fan of the Deep Dive podcast, but that's where I got it from. Just saying. On Monday, on our next taping, or actually, you're busy Monday. We got to record Tuesday, right?
Yeah.
Tuesday, if the playoffs haven't started yet, we need a parlay of who you think's going to win the AL and NL. Who's going to?
Well, wouldn't that be the same as my? Well, I guess if the Phillies win, then I already did my Rangers Phillies pick for the World Series.
Yeah. Okay.
So I guess it just depends. I haven't decided. I don't know what I would do if it was the Rangers, or I'm still going to leave the Rangers. So I guess we'll see. All I know is I have the Rangers beating the Astros.
I'm a little worried about that series, man. Yordan Alvarez is like everything Aaron Judge wants to be. He's unstoppable.
In the postseason. Yeah.
Yeah, that's all that matters, man. He's hurt from some freak injury all regular season, comes back like 2 weeks before and looks good. I do want to give a quick shout out to an often injured player who I like watching, Byron Buxton. He was able to pinch hit in the 8th inning last night. I'm glad he got to be it. Yeah, I'm glad he got to be in the playoffs. He'll probably never be back. But
I wasn't sure which direction that was going. If that was going to be if that was going to be Buxton or if that was going to be Tommy Pham.
Tommy Pham, baby, going to the NLCS out of the 3-hole, batting in the 3-hole. I think I brought up all my favorite players. I brought up Tommy Pham, Yadi Molina, Buxton, Jalen Hurts. I think I've hit my quote on all these guys. Herbert, Allen. Yeah.
Cooper. Deacon Hill.
Yeah, Deacon Hill, Cooper DeJean, all those guys. But all right, it's gonna be a good weekend. We hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Bet GPT. Tell your friends, tell your family, give us 5 stars on Spotify and Apple. And don't forget to check out our YouTube video. We worked pretty hard putting that together. And we just really appreciate all the support. And we'll catch you guys next time. Thanks.